But here's what I think. I think like, and again, I know I would get ripped apart if I ever said this like in certain groups, but I think Bitcoin is a very old technology that doesn't really do much, and they're trying to update. It takes a massive amount of power, and there's a lot of issues. But it was the first, and so I could see it getting
It
replaced by
has
something
brand
that's
recognition, that's for
much.
sure.
Yeah, just because you were the first to market doesn't mean you're gonna be there forever, and it can't be updated. So there's I don't know. I don't know if Bitcoin is gonna stand. I'm
It's very
always
unique because you're like, well, you could say that about gold too, right? But it did stay up. Um, but the answer is you don't know. So people that come on and say it's going
exactly.
up for sure, they're idiots. Like
Yep.
that's not true. The fact is that it has value. We don't know how much value that'll be played out, but to say that it has no value or that it's going to keep going up for life, both are wrong, in my opinion.
Exactly. I 100% agree. I always tell people I have no idea, but this is my fear is that I think it's possible. Did you watch? I posted the video about Peter Schiff. He's having a debate with what's his name, Logan Paul, one of those
Oh, I no, I
guys.
didn't see that. What's it about?
Is really because I love Peter Schiff. I think he's genius. I was involved in real estate during the big real estate crash. I saw
Oh,
it
I love
coming.
him too. Yeah, it's good.
He's, but he's a big gold bug, right? Like that's gold and silver. That's his thing. So I watched this because I really respect him, and I didn't know who that Logan Paul was out of Google him, and apparently he's pretty famous.
He's a
But
boxer, I think.
I think it's like his twin brother because he looks
Oh
smaller. And
yeah,
then I Googled he had a twin brother, and I was like, maybe that's the twin. But anyways, so they had this discussion, and I totally like agreed with Peter Schiff if you were not to know about Polkadot, because I was the same way. But like everything he was saying is that it's not backed on anything. So when you have like Bitcoin, you have to have other people keep buying into it in order for it to have value. And if people all of a sudden lose faith in the value for whatever reason, government getting more involved, making, there's a lot of things that can happen, and the government is ramping these things up, that it would cease to have value, because if you can't use it anywhere, if you can't take it out of exchanges, you can't cash out, what value? There is no value. Unlike gold. And so he said gold serves a purpose. That was his two main points on why he did not like cryptocurrency were both solved by Polkadot. And the one is that, well, it serves no purpose outside of existing, which again, he's talking about
that
what
Bitcoin
we're
or
in.
gold?
Well, he was saying gold has value because you can use it for certain medicines. Jewelry was obviously the big thing. They use it for some processing in chips. So he's saying gold actually has some value to it, and it's a rare substance. So it's always going to have value because it has a use to it. It's doing something. It has something that can be, other than sitting in your closet in a box or something.
Right.
It has a value to it. Where Bitcoin, if all of a sudden they don't let you cash in at exchanges or anything, there's nothing there. If the government would just stop it, you have nothing. So it's not like you can take your Bitcoin and vacation with it or build a boat out of it or anything. It's just there's nothing there.
You can
Um,
vacation with gold, right? I mean, that's I guess I think it's
yeah,
a
I
way
mean,
to
but
argue it.
gold has a. He's saying is gold will always have that value. It will always have some type of value because of
It's still very
inflation.
limited, but yeah, yeah.
I agree. I agree with that as well. So
That's why
my
Warren Buffett doesn't get into it. He's like, "What am I going to do? Build a temple? Like, there's not that much
yeah,
you can do with it."
yeah, but it's always been there. Now, as we
Yep.
live in a digital age, what we talk about Polkadot. Well, your Polkadot, when you're crowd loaning, you're actually using it to to fund a company. Like you're literally investing money, just like you were buying stocks. When
Mhm.
you're crowd loaning, you're giving that company the ability to make money, and they're paying you in their own token, not in dollars. They're paying you dividends to say, okay, thank you for helping me run my business.
Yep.
Here's for the 2-year commitment you're going to give me, I'm going to give you these coins. And then obviously you're hoping those coins are going to go up in value, and it is a bit of a numbers game. It's more volatile, but the goal is that hopefully you come out on top over.
Yep.
But even if you didn't, if all of those companies went under, you still keep your primary investment. So I thought Dot really solved the thing that he was saying is like, well, what does it do if it just sits there? And I wish I was in that interview, because I would have been like, okay, let's talk about Polkadot
But what
some.
about fiat currency or stuff like? Yeah, it's like, what does that
Yeah.
do?
So his thing with fiat is obviously he hates fiat, but he likes it more than Bitcoin because he's saying the government's not going to say all of a sudden we're going to get rid of our dollar. It's going to be what's bad with the value with that is that the government you believe in says it has value. So But the other thing he said is like dividends, that it doesn't, you can't collect interest without taking big risks in like staking pools and things. Whereas with, again, Polkadot, you can make 15.4% of whatever it's worth. Now that worth can fluctuate, but they pay you a dividend of 15.4% a year to basically, it's like Bitcoin mining. You're validating the network. So I think that's a really cool, like it basically the two
Yeah.
biggest issues he's had were both
Yeah,
debunked
tell me about
only
that
with
because I
Polkadot.
think there's some people that look at it from an investment. I'm sorry, Phil. You hit on something I think is really interesting is the what is you can come into this marketplace and you can have a lot of different goals or mindsets and still find something. So it's, am I looking to store value? Am I looking for an inflation hedge? Am I looking for, am I wanting to be involved in the long-term play of this technology? Am I looking for that 15.4% return? What if I'm an investor? What am I looking at a Polkadot and what are the various opportunities that I could make money on it? Like how should I be looking at it as just an investment?
So again, I'm not a financial advisor, and I always have to be careful with that.
That's,
But
I think that's better though, because your opinion is more insightful that way.
yeah, I mean, I just give my 2 cents on like how I look at this for a long term, and that the idea that they came up with, they being Gavin Wood came up with this, was that you basically never really need to sell it. And remember, when you trade one token for another token, that's a taxable event. So I
Sure.
like the idea that I'm doing this and I'm not having to get hit on taxes because I bought Doge now and then I bought SHIB and then I moved it over to Hex or whatever, and I'm hitting that, whatever gains I had, I'm paying taxes on. What I like about the long term Polkadot is you can keep your coins, and I typically, you buy a bunch and you keep dollar cost averaging into it and throwing it in, and you're making that 15.4% until you find an auction that you like, and then you put some into the crowd loan. And to me, the long-term investment is um, the staking of waiting and moving it around as needed. The crowd loans are that short-term pops where right now every single one that's hit an exchange has done very well. There's been 11 auctions so far, and 5 have hit exchanges, and all have been very profitable.
Dollar
So
amounts are amazing. I can't believe how high. I knew it was gonna be high. I didn't know it was gonna be that high.
yeah, I mean, the one that Moon River, why it blew up is because they're basically they're basically trying to replace Ethereum. They're doing what Ethereum does at a fraction of a cost, and it integrates into any Ethereum payment system. So what I dug into, like, why is it worth 5,000? If you would put $300 in, for every $300 you put in, you kept your 300 and you got 5,000 instantly. Like, it was like within a few weeks, and it's because of basically it's a much better Ethereum model. So
Yeah,
anywho,
it's like,
but
hey, you might as well ride the wave like until people figure it out. Sometimes stuff is that easy, right? It does happen.
that's the thing, is people are saying that this could be worth as much or more as Ethereum. Like, and it's one of the, because it's like that. I'm not saying Polkadot, I'm saying Moon River, one of Moon River's, or one of Polkadot's, one of hundreds of parachains could be worth more than Ethereum because it
Right,
provides a better service and better solution. It can be
right.
more integrated and everything else. But so for me, the long term is holding the coins and getting the staking fees, and then short term it's crowd loaning out and getting those coins to diversify. So instead of just having Polkadot and Kasama, I now have 10, 15, 20 different other coins out there that are all appreciating on their own. And then when I think, if I'm ever ready to say, you know what, I got enough money, I'm just going to sit back and relax, I can live off the 15.4%. If I hit a point where I want to retire and I don't want to touch my nest egg, I just say, okay, every million I got, can I live off of 150,000, 154,000 a year?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, so for those people that are more, by the way, you explained it very well. I wouldn't know that you're not a financial planner if you didn't tell me. But
I appreciate that. I don't feel like one, but I do have to dig into this.